Hey everyone, it's Alex, and I am here with another video preview for the 90th Academy Awards. Today I'm here to go over the 10 contenders for Best Documentary Short Subject. Now, Best Documentary Short Subject is a category that has a lot of specific rules and regulations for how a contender can be eligible. And before I go over the contenders and what they're about, I'm going to go over some of those rules right now. So a lot of these rules are pretty similar to the ones that are in place for the documentary feature category, but for documentary shorts, there are some differences. The first one is the running time. Documentary features have to be a minimum of 40 minutes long to qualify, whereas documentary shorts, 40 minutes is the maximum runtime it can have for it to be eligible. So similar to the animated and live action shorts, documentary shorts cannot be longer than 40 minutes. And the way in which a documentary short is eligible for consideration comes in three ways. The first is it has to have a 7-day commercial run in a theater in either Los Angeles or New York City. The second is that it has to have won a qualifying award at a competitive film festival as specified in the Academy's Documentary Short Subject Qualifying Festival list. And third, the film has to have won either a gold, silver, or bronze medal in the Academy's 2017 Student Academy Awards competition in the documentary category. So those are the three ways in which something is eligible. Now, the eligibility period for these documentary shorts was between September 1st, 2016 to August 31st, 2017. And during that time, the documentary short had to do one of the three things to be eligible. And if it was playing in a theater, it had to be advertised in certain newspapers. In New York City, it had to be advertised in either the New York Times, Time Out New York, or the Village Voice. And in Los Angeles, it had to be advertised in either the Los Angeles Times or LA Weekly. And also the film had to be submitted to the Academy for consideration by 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Friday, September 1st, 2017. Now this year, according to the Academy press release, there were 77 films that were submitted. However, with the short films, they don't list the full contenders. They just reveal how many there were and what the 10 semifinalists are. So I have no idea what the full list was, but they have narrowed it down to 10 semifinalists, and from these 10 semifinalists, 5 of them will become the official Oscar nominees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the list real quick, and then I'm going to go over the summaries of what all these documentary shorts are about, and I got these summaries off of IMDb or any other website that was highlighting the film and describing what it was about. So here we go. Here are the 10 contenders for Best Documentary Short Subject for the 90th Academy Awards. Alone, Edith and Eddie. Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405. Heroin. Cayo. The Living Shopping Baskets. Knife Skills. 116 Cameras. Ram Dass Going Home. 10-Meter Tower. Traffic Stop. Now, here are what all these shorts are about. Alone. Alone tells the story of Alone Watts, who struggles between being a single mother and wanting to marry her fiancé, Desmond, who is in prison. Edith and Eddie. Edith and Eddie, ages 96 and 95, are America's oldest interracial newlyweds. Their love story is disrupted by a family feud that threatens to tear the couple apart. Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405. Mindy Alper is a tortured and brilliant 56-year-old artist who is represented by one of Los Angeles' top galleries. Acute anxiety, mental disorder, and devastating depression have caused her to be committed to mental institutions, undergo electroshock therapy, and survive a 10-year period without the ability to speak. Her hyper-self-awareness has allowed her to produce a lifelong body of work that expresses her emotional state with powerful psychological precision. Through interviews, reenactments, the building of an 8.5-foot papier-mâché bust of her beloved psychiatrist, and examining drawings made from the time she was a child, we learn how she has emerged from darkness and isolation to a life that includes love, trust, and support. Heroin. Once a bustling industrial town, Huntington, West Virginia has become the epicenter of America's modern opioid epidemic, with an overdose rate 10 times the national average. This flood of heroin now threatens this Appalachian city with a cycle of generational addiction, lawlessness, and poverty. But within this distressed landscape, Peabody Award-winning filmmaker Elaine McMillan Sheldon shows a different side of the fight against drugs, one of hope. Kayayo, the living shopping baskets. In the capital of Ghana, 10,000 girls from the ages of 6 work as real-life shopping baskets called kayayo, carrying heavy loads on their head from 130 to 220 pounds, earning very little, and some end up in prostitution to make ends meet. This documentary is about Bamunu, an 8-year-old girl who hasn't seen her family since she was sent away from home 2 years ago to work as a kayayo to support her family. We follow her incessant longing to get away from the harsh markets, her journey back home, and what awaits there. Knife skills. What does it take to build a world-class French restaurant? What if the staff is almost entirely men and women just out of prison? What if most have never cooked or served before and have barely 2 months to learn their trade? We follow the hectic launch of Edwin's Restaurant in Cleveland. In this improbable setting, with its mouth-watering dishes and its arcane French vocabulary, we discover the challenges of men and women finding their way after their release. We come to know 3 trainees intimately, as well as the restaurant's founder, who is himself haunted by his time in jail. These men and women all have something to prove, and all struggle to launch new lives, an endeavor as pressured and perilous as the ambitious restaurant launch of which they are a part. 116 cameras. As the Holocaust survivor community ages, the USC Shoah Foundation has embarked upon an ambitious new project to transform survivors into 3D digital projections that will interact with generations to come. 116 Cameras follows Auschwitz survivor Eva Schloss as she goes through this unique experience and reflects on how her role as a Holocaust speaker has changed over time. Ram Dass Going Home. A profound and poetic encounter with cultural and spiritual icon Ram Dass at his home on Maui toward the end of his life. 10-Meter Tower. Swedish filmmakers Maximilian van Ertrick and Axel Danielsson paid 67 people $30 to climb to the top of a 10-meter or 33-foot high dive for the very first time, all while being filmed. Would they decide to jump? Would they be too scared? The resulting footage is surprisingly riveting as people slowly come to terms with their fears and make a decision. Traffic stop. Alex Landau, who was African American, recalls how he nearly lost his life following a traffic stop with the Denver police. He and his mother Patsy, who was white, remember that night and how it changed them forever. And those are what all the documentary short contenders are about. Now, if I had to try and predict which ones I think will be nominated for the Oscar, that's going to be tough because the short film categories are always very tough to predict because there's not really any other precursor at other award shows like the Golden Globes or the Critics' Choice that honor short films, so you can never truly know what will be nominated. But I'm going to try and make predictions based on trends I've seen in the past couple of years with this category in terms of what types of subjects voters seem to be most drawn to, or what types of themes seem to be the most important today, because these are documentaries after all, and many of them are about current social issues. So I think one of the contenders will probably be Edith and Eddie, because interracial marriage has always been a heated topic for many people in America and around the world. And given the fact that these are people who are 96 and 95 years old, they come from a generation where interracial marriage was virtually unheard of, and in many cases not even allowed. You know, there was the film last year, Loving, which detailed the real-life case of Richard and Mildred Loving, an interracial couple whose marriage was declared illegal, and they ended up going to the Supreme Court and winning to have their marriage be validated. And the fact that it says here there's a family feud between their families, that makes it all the more interesting because, you know, I'm guessing this family feud involves the fact that they're of different races. I mean, I don't know too much about this because obviously the plot summaries aren't supposed to spoil everything. But this sounds like a very intriguing story, and I personally want to learn more about it. Heroine, I think, could be a contender because it deals with problems of poverty in the Appalachian Mountains. You know, West Virginia is right in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, and there was a documentary back in 1976 called Harlan County, USA, which won the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature, and that showed coal miners in West Virginia living in poverty and fighting to get better wages and working conditions. Obviously, this is not about coal miners, but it's a well-known fact, if you read the news, that states in the Appalachian Mountains are riddled with drug abuse, especially states like West Virginia, and as it says in the plot summary, they have an overdose rate of 10 times the national average in the city of Huntington. So, but it looks like here this is about trying to fix that problem, and I believe it's on Netflix. And the Academy has shown that they're willing to embrace Netflix documentary shorts. Notably, earlier this year, The White Helmets won the Oscar in this category, and that had originally been produced and put on Netflix. Kayayo, The Living Shopping Baskets, I bet could be a big contender because a lot of times I've seen documentary shorts that were nominated that are set in areas like Africa or the Middle East where there's a lot of poverty and citizens are struggling to survive because, you know, they're very poor or they live under a corrupt government. And a lot of times documentaries involving the plight of children, especially children in these areas of the world, often get people's attention because it makes them feel empathy and sympathy for the conditions that these children often have to grow up in. And, you know, just reading this plot description, I just can't imagine what this little girl's life must be like. And I mean, no child should ever have to live a life like this girl has, of carrying over 100 pounds worth of stuff on their head at 8 years old. Just, no child should have to go through that. 116 Cameras, I definitely think could be a major contender because documentary features and documentary shorts about the Holocaust are always very intriguing to voters. They often show up here, and I remember a couple years ago there was a documentary about a Holocaust survivor who was over 100 years old. I can't remember her name at the top of my head. I feel so bad. And it actually won the Oscar for Best Documentary Shorts. It was called The Lady in Room 6, Music Saved My Life, I think, about a woman whose skills as a musician helped save her life during the Holocaust when she was in a concentration camp. But this is documentary 116 Cameras. This presents a very unique thing that I don't think has ever been done in a Holocaust documentary before, and indeed I had never known that such a program like this existed, of making 3D digital projections of Holocaust survivors so that future generations can hear their story after they're dead. And I think that's a brilliant concept, actually, because, you know, there will come a time, probably within the next 20, 30 years, when there will be no more Holocaust survivors and the last one will die, and there won't be anyone to personally tell their life experience growing up during the Holocaust or being in a concentration camp and give that kind of first-hand knowledge to people, especially young people. I personally have heard stories directly from Holocaust survivors, you know, coming into classes or doing assemblies when I was in school and talking about their experiences, And it's certainly a very unique thing to listen to because, you know, you'll read tons of books about people telling their life story of surviving the Holocaust, like Night by Elie Wiesel, which is one of the most powerful books I've ever read in my life. But actually hearing a person talk directly to you about their experiences, that's very unique because they provide a unique perspective that not really any book or video can give you, you know. And then the last documentary I think could possibly be nominated here is Traffic Stop. This obviously involves police brutality against African Americans, and of course that's been a major topic in the news these last few years, and of course that's always been a major topic in the news, and I think the relevancy of that topic, even still today, will help generate a lot of discussion and interest in this subject and this documentary, and will probably provide a lot of conversation for people who do see it, if it does get nominated. So those are what I think will be the 5 contenders: Edith and Eddie, Heroin, Callayo, The Living Shopping Baskets, 116 Cameras, and Traffic Stop. And again, these are just random predictions I'm making based on past trends I've seen in this category in the past few years. I could end up being wrong and predicting 0 of the 5 nominees, or I could end up getting all of them right. Who knows? But we'll see on January 23rd once the Oscar nominations are officially revealed to the world. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you've seen any of these documentary shorts, let me know in the comment section below what you think of them and what you think will and should be nominated. And please subscribe to my channel if you've not yet already done so you can get my newest videos as soon as they're uploaded. And I will see you guys next time with the shortlist for the documentary feature category. So that'll be very exciting. So stay tuned for that. Bye.